Hello and welcome back, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today we are going to be doing a rundown of Tinto Talk number 78, which features some content for the Americas in the upcoming game with the codename Project Caesar, including the Treaty of Tortillas, which we are actually dealing with in one of the runs we are playing right now. As Great Britain, the Treaty of Tortillas is firing off between us and Castile, or Castile, as it were, and so that is going to be what we are taking a look through here today, which is fantastic because we're right in the middle of it, and so we'll have a little bit to say in this type of thing. Castile's not really colonizing very much, so it's not too big a struggle for us, and we're planning on jumping out of that treaty by switching to Reformed, but let's get into it here. So hello and welcome to another Tinto Talks, the Happy Wednesday, where we talk about Europa Universalis 5. Today we will be talking about two situations, ooh girl, you a situation, that may happen in the mid-game related to the discovery of the Americas by foreign powers, the Treaty of Tortillas and the Great Pestilence. The Treaty of Tortillas may be triggered after the Age of Discovery starts, so later than 1437, when at least two Catholic countries with their capital in Europe hold any location or at least one subject each in America. And so Castile was a little bit later than us to get on the colonizing thing, but this event fired as soon as they colonized alongside us. We're going to use an example of Castile having a colony in Hispaniola. In fact, that's exactly where they have one. In Portugal, having a colony in Brazil. This is the event that will trigger the situation itself. We get our share of the New World. Our expansion into the new lands of Bavaria has not gone unnoticed by the people of the Kingdom of Portugal. They are also expanding their holdings in Madrid and quickly becoming a competitor for the best lands and harbors of the coastlines of America. If nothing else is done, the situation will inevitably lead to conflict between our nations as both strive to get the best trade routes and resources. Instead, and incidentally, when making kind of a new colony, something that we look for is harbor capacity, in particular, because we know that if there's good harbor capacity, what will end up happening is when you make a colony there, instantly it will form a new market if it's sufficiently far enough from another market. And you really would like to have it's less important for the market access, but you really want the capital of your colony to be on that harbor capacity. That way it can propagate control much better and doesn't need as much road infrastructure. They just need a few boats. But instead, as long as they're kind of mostly on the coastline, right? Instead, we could hold a meeting where our diplomats and statesmen can conceive of the solution that divides the new lands fairly and pleases both parties. Unfortunately for us, Pope Man hates us, and so I don't think it's going too well for us in this situation, which incidentally is part of why we want to switch. Also, we wanted to go Anglican just because, in case there's content. The country that gets the event will have the option to decide where to have the meeting to discuss the treaty. The locations, which we got to do it, the locations are available at capitals of the two countries, a bordering location, and an American one. The treaty will take the name of the selected location. We selected the location of Tortillas, so ours is the Treaty of Tortillas. Actually, it's we chose the Americas option, but a little bit of a curious thing. I wonder if we renamed it, if it would change the name of the situation. If we renamed the location. I can't remember. I think we could rename locations. So I wonder if we could actually make it actually the Treaty of Tortillas. Sorry, Tortillas. Our share of the world, our expansion, this is the exact same event, I guess, from the other side, and we will join this meeting, get a little bit of progression towards outward. I think the inward value is quite a bit stronger. Outward's better for colonizing, though, but I think that the outward, the positive modifier you get for colonizing, there's big sources of it elsewhere, so it's really not that big a deal. Inward gives you control, and just flat control, which is one of the most very powerful resources in the game. So even if we're going colonizing heavy, we're still going inward. So maybe that's something to leave balance feedback on. But this way, the situation will start. We have the Treaty of Valladolid, and then we will have this team. So there's a location that is the line for east-west, I believe, and you can claim an area specifically for yourself. You can claim an area that's under conflict. You can revoke a claim. We haven't even tried that. Push to settle the treaty, which pushes the ratification, and shifting the line east or west, but it doesn't seem like you could shift it that far, or we maybe just don't have enough locations to really get the shift going. So let's continue. A location will be set at the fixed support to divide the world. From that point onward, each countries will have a sphere of influence in which it will be able to claim areas. An area which the initial colonies is granted to each country from there on, or they will be able to claim areas that are adjacent to those initial claims. If the two colonies that were present in the same area, the claimed conflicting area would be available to both countries. We both had lands in Cuba, but the Pope, man, hated us, and so Castile claimed Cuba. You could also try and revoke a claim from another country, but that requires a request of the Pope, who hates us. These claims ban Catholic colonization by other Catholic countries, but you can still have those. But you will still have to colonize those areas using the regular game mechanics. So it will not automatically give it to you. We're currently in Louisiana and down here in the two areas we can claim. And so I guess the reason we can claim those is because we have a colony bordering them. Okay, so that makes sense. I was a little confused because the line is like right here, and then we could claim this, and we could claim this. And I was uncertain exactly what was going on. I'm actually not sure in the UI whether we are east or west in the current game. Left a little bit of feedback on that. It was slightly unclear to me. But we get claim an area, and then we can claim a conflicting area, and this requires, I believe, that the Pope man himself likes you, although it's not showing that requirement. I don't think we could, we were not able to claim Cuba, which has gone to Spain. So we do see a little bit of claim here. A negotiation is always a back and forth process. At successions, we are bound to allow our rivals to get what they want from time to time, and it is part of a diplomacy to claw that back, that advantage back afterwards. We've kind of gained a little bit of antagonism before this event fired, and it just kind of fired very, very recently in our game. And so I think that's a big reason why the Pope man hates us. We've been trying to improve relations, but by making use of our influence, we will be able to convince the Papal States to revoke one of the active claims of our consignatory, almost consigliere, but not, moving the negotiation back to a point where we will have the leading role. Okay, and then we see, I guess, the UI for revoking a claim, and removing it from someone else. Besides that, there are 3 more actions related to the treaty line. You can shift the line to a different location, or exchange sides. Exchange sides is kind of the one we might end up doing. I think that, like, since it's, like, so deep in Louisiana, I think we would rather just have the eastern side of that, and kind of be able to colonize South America and big portions of North America, and then once we flip Anglican, it's not going to matter. But when the progress bar to ratification of the treaty is 100%, a new phase will start, and you could push this to settle treaty to speed it up. I believe this is your church mana that you can use to progress it a 10, which we do have a bit of that stored up. So once we get it where we want, we will try and probably push it, especially because the church mana is not going to be useful, or particularly useful once we swap Anglican, as far as I know. And so, yeah. So is this the line for them? Yeah, this line is way further east than the line we have currently. That's like in Louisiana. But okay. It looks like they have claims on this side from Portugal as well. Just a lot of Brazil. Kind of a very natural looking, or historic looking location for it. We have exchange sides. Fortunately, I think exchange sides is going to be available to us because it requires mana and prestige rather than the Pope liking you and needing to give him favors. When the new phase starts, the new world will be divided between the 2 signatory powers, including both the already claimed areas and the respective half of the world. And so claiming areas on either side is going to be useful in order to kind of stake a claim on an area that is maybe not going to be on your side at the end of the treaty. New actions will also be available, and we get to violate the treaty, upheld the treaty relevance, exchange claims, demand the transfer of claimed province. In this situation, in this phase of the situation, other Catholic countries that have discovered the Americas will be able to participate in the situation, and will have some of the actions available to them, while others will be restricted to the 2 signatory countries. And so I wonder if you can exchange claim as a third, like, kind of power in order to gain an area where you can colonize. Really, if you have one entire area you can colonize, that's quite a few colonies, and so maybe for these middling or smaller powers, that's going to be sufficient, and you don't really have to worry about getting colonies that dot everywhere. Let's see, uphold treaty relevance. Let's see what that does. I'm not sure exactly what this does. It increases treaty relevance by 10. I assume that in that case, relevance will be like a modifier that goes up to 100, and it gives malices and or bonuses from violating and or abiding by the treaty, something like this. We see exchange claims that requires ducats and a little bit of church power. Demand the transfer of a province. We've been on the receiving end of that, playing as Mali, and we said no. And so, continuing on. The relevance of the treaty decreases monthly, and then each additional time it gets violated. This situation will end when the relevance goes to 0. At that moment, the ban on colonization and claims will disappear, and all the Catholic countries will be able to freely colonize wherever they want again. We're going to circumvent this, or the plan is to circumvent this, at some point by going Anglican once Anglican spawns in our nation, because we're playing as Great Britain, but we are currently in the process of, in the opening salvo of this treaty. Next up, we have the Great Pestilence. Great Pestilence is a situation that portrays numerous diseases brought by the European colonizers to America after 1492. As such, it will trigger after the first Europeans have established themselves in the New World. We've seen this fire every time. It kills a ton of natives, just an absolutely enormous amount. We get a mysterious plague is ravaging the natives in this location. Surprise the Europeans. It's two kinds of plagues, right? It is infecting the indigenous population at an alarming rate, independently of their class or piety. Or is it piety? Who knows? The disease is unpredictable and deathly, sometimes producing fevers and rashes, sometimes vomiting or delirium, and almost always ending in death. The speed of the contagion and the morbidity of the symptoms is leaving our doctors perplexed and impotent. Shout out to impotence. There is little else we can do but besides deliver the last rites and dig graves. So it's time to dig. Pestilence, can you dig it? The graves. Okay, but effectively, like 90-95% of the population gets wiped out. I do think if you're a player, you'll be able to actually really effectively combat this. And by really effectively combat this, probably save like 20% of your pops instead of saving 5%, which is, 4 times as many pops. Something like this, because if I think hospitals is available to everyone as a building. Maybe it's not. They might start out without big sections of the initial tech tree, so I don't really know exactly how that's going to shake out. Obviously, you won't really be able to access institutions because they spread through trade, and you're not going to be able to have trade until the pestilence shows up, so you're not going to be able to proactively have techs that give you disease resistance, although disease resistance will be enormously effective against the Great Pestilence because it's killing such a large proportion of your population. It should be very strong. So like if you have 5% disease resistance and it kills 95%, that switches your, as far as I understand the mechanic, will switch your the amount that survives from 5% to 9.5%, right? And so that's a huge come up from just 9%, or sorry, 5% disease resistance, if I understand what's going on correctly. But we can sponsor spiritual protection. That's probably not going to work. No contact with outsiders. That might work. The disease will spread through the native population, pretty much as you saw with the Black Death, but in a much deadlier way, up to 90% of the native population potentially. Oh, I guess, are they capping it at 90? I think historically it was 95. I guess it's maybe from a gameplay perspective, like killing 95% of the pops was not something they wanted to do. 90%'s good enough, right? Or bad enough, depending on how you look at it. So, really going to kill a ton of pops. Random events will also pop up, both for colonizing and native countries. We have seen some of these events. We do see a little bit of similarity between this and the Black Plague. Losing in Republican tradition or stab, forever lost. The truth hurts. The wrath of the Great Pestilence is decimating all castes in Santo Domingo. Even holy men or clerica are not protected by the form of disease. You know, it's funny they use the word decimate, because in style handbooks for English, decimate is actually an example of a word that gets used when the ambulance is coming outside for the people who are not actually who are uncertain whether linguistically they follow the prescriptive notion of definitions in language or a descriptive notion of language, because decimate actually has definition that is different from what most people think. There's kind of the colloquial definition, and then there's the technical definition. What decimate technically means, referring back to, kind of the Romans and the Latins, decimate, is it's a punishment that you would invoke on your own army, where you would kill 10% of the troops. So what decimate means is to kill 10%, not to wipe out very nearly entirely, in terms of the technical definition. So, the people from a style perspective who are prescriptivists, these are the people who are like, hey, the words mean what they mean, you can't go changing the name of words, you're using it wrong. They would say this is an incorrect use of the word decimate. However, in linguistics, generally speaking, the school of thought that is more popular, and in my opinion correct, is the descriptive version, where the words mean however people use them. And almost universally, people will use the word decimate to mean very nearly wipe out, including people who actually know the real definition of the word decimate. They just won't use the word because they will be understanding that they're probably going to be misinterpreted. And if they do use the word with the old definition, they're probably a dick, because you're not attempting to communicate clearly. If you're doing that, you're attempting to just show off that you know something that they don't know, or something like this. When you're like decimate, and they're like, wow, it completely destroyed me, you're like, no, it only got rid of 10%. It's like you're intentionally misleading almost just to kind of like show off. But that being said, I almost never use the word decimate, because I know the real definition and I know the colloquial definition, and in my mind there's some unresolved tension, and so I just don't use the word. But at the same time, whenever someone uses the word decimate, I assume that they mean to wipe out very nearly entirely. Which brings us back to the wrath of the Great Pestilence is decimating all the castes in Santo Domingo de Guzman. Even the holy men of the clerics are not being protected from the disease. Their loss is felt twice, as many villages no longer have anyone to that can officiate proper burial rites, dooming the newly dead to wander, as wander lost his vengeful spirits and unable to cross into the great beyond. Terrible. We get at death's door. The Great Pestilence has run its course unhampered. It has brought dead and devastation. Is this dead or devastation, or death and death? Well, okay. To an entire continent without any care for the morals or frontiers. Now, many once lush and vibrant cities lie deserted and decadent kingdoms. Like, deserted and decadent. There should be no comma here. And decadent kingdoms and empires are tumbling. Here, we'll maybe, how can we do this? We'll maybe take a little bit of a save of this file and leave feedback. There should be no combat in between decadent kingdoms. Cities lie deserted and decadent. Or actually, is it decadent? Do we want to say the cities are deserted and decadent? And then kingdoms and empires are tumbling, or is decadent supposed to modify kingdoms? Now I'm confused. Here you wanted EU5 content, you're getting English discussion. Decadent kingdoms and empires are tumbling in disaster. Vibrant cities are deserted and decadent? I think decadent's supposed to be modifying kingdoms here. I don't really think that something... When I think of something being deserted, I don't think of it as decadent, but, okay. I don't know if we should leave feedback for that then. I'm not sure. Okay. Continuing on. Devs are really busy. Don't want to inundate them with too much feedback. Or at least I don't. I suppose on the forums they'll kind of consume that at their own pace. But as the Great Pestilence takes hold of the population in this place, our efforts to curtail its advance are proving futile, as many scared families all over country have decided to abandon settlements and towns and isolate themselves in hills and forests. Smart. Disregarding their duty to farm, to their farms and to the government. The spreading of the peasants will make it difficult for our representatives to assert the will of the state state over them. I assume this is like decreases control, something like this. But that's all for today. We will come back Friday as we will do a Tinto flavor about Portugal. Maybe we can get in a quick Portugal run before we do this and kind of talk about what we did. Something like this. And next week in the Tinto Talks, we will take another look at a mid and late game situation, the Colombian exchange. Very excited about this. I was so delighted when we kind of stumbled across this. I thought the Colombian exchange was super, super cool. And also the Colonial Revolution. We have not experienced this one, but okay. And remember, you can pre-purchase Europa Universalis 5 now. You can order it through Steam, but also, if you wanted to support the channel, you can order it through the official website and use the code GENERALIST in all caps. This doesn't make it any cheaper, and it's slightly inconvenient because they'll email you a code and you have to put in the code, but what it will do is it will give 12% of the sale to the channel, so if you wanted to support the channel, that'd be a great way to do it. Also, if there is another content creator you prefer, you should ask them if they have a code, something like this. And then also, if you wanted the developers to get all the money, or the Paradox to get all the money, just ordering it through Steam works just fine as far as I know. Someone told me that they don't actually get a discount or a better deal when you order through their website, something like this. But it is available for pre-purchase now. So, a little bit of fun in the New World, and by fun, I mean the decimation of the native populations, and also the Treaty of Tortillas. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and other than that, have a happy Wednesday.